Thanks for joining me for my second volume of Halloween Classics. What I'm doing this Halloween is just taking three different bands that always put me in the spirit, that I've listened to forever, and just spend a couple minutes talking about them and looking at my albums. So, Type O Negative, very famous band. Won't go too much into the history of them, but they are from New York City, formed in 1989, led by Peter Steele on bass and vocals, Kenny Hickey on guitar, Josh Silver on keyboards, and Sal Abrascato on drums, who would be replaced in 1994 by Johnny Kelly, and the lineup would stay the same after that point. So, very consistent lineup, and Peter Steele, what can you say? He's probably my favorite personality in music. Hilarious, dry sense of humor, wasn't afraid to give a honest opinion or a hot take, and by all accounts a nice guy. So very sad that it will be his passing in 2010 that resulted in the end of the band. So I became a Type O Negative fan in 1994 around the time of Bloody Kisses. That's when I first got into heavy music, and that album was big of a time. So I picked up several of their albums over the next couple years, and then somewhere along the way I lost interest and I sold them all. And just recently I've been able to get these albums all over again, predominantly because of this. The Complete Roadrunner Collection, 1991 to 2003. It's got everything but the last album on it. And this is probably the best deal I've ever gotten in my 30 years of buying music. I paid 13 Canadian dollars plus a couple bucks shipping. The contents are perfect. It's just the cardboard on the outside is a little beat up. No big deal. So, the debut album, 1991, Slow, Deep, and Hard. This was the second Type O Negative album I ever bought. I was probably 13 years old, and I just thought this was like some abstract art. I had no idea what I was looking at. Went right over my head. Road Racer Records. What's my favorite song on here? It's definitely not one of my favorites, although maybe the heaviest Type O Negative album. We gotta go with the 12-minute opener, Unsuccessfully Coping with the Natural Beauty of Infidelity. It's got a lot of the early roots of Type O Negative with a lot of hints of what's to come. Let's take a look at my vinyl copy of that album. This is the 30-year anniversary. Came out in 2021. It's on double green vinyl with a little bit of black in there. Next up is The Origin of the Feces, which is basically a fake live album, although it's not really presented as a real live album. It's all in fun. You know, I forget if it's just on the Spotify version or on this one I have here, but there is a one with Paranoid by Black Sabbath, the cover. And even though that's a really overplayed Black Sabbath song, I think that's a great cover. And it also takes me back to 94, 95 when Nativity in Black, the first Black Sabbath tribute album, came out. They did a cover of the song Black Sabbath, but it was definitely a just from like the devil's point of view or something. I forget. Yeah, this was 1992, Roadrunner Records. Just take a second to look at a couple things. Soul on Fire by Jeff Wagner. This is the unofficial biography of Peter Steele. I'm a big fan of Jeff Wagner's writing. Read this book twice. Definitely going to read it again. Recommend you check it out. came with this cool Type O Negative wristband. And I remember 2-3 years ago in the Metalhead box Halloween edition, this was the pin of the month. Every day is Halloween. It's definitely been on my hoodie ever since then. It's probably the favorite pin I've ever gotten from the Metalhead box. And again, we're talking about Halloween here. The most I listen to Type O Negative is on my Type O Negative Halloween mix, which is basically bookended with Black Number One and Christian Woman from Bloody Kisses. Put Hallows Eve from World Coming Down right in the middle, and then just fill in the rest of the 80-minute CD or playlist or whatever it is with your favorite songs from October Rust. So next up is the breakthrough album, Bloody Kisses, their biggest album to date, won platinum in the US. This is 1993 on Roadrunner. And my favorite track's gotta be Christian Woman and Black Number One. I remember seeing those videos on the late night heavy metal programming on TV. Blew my 12, 13-year-old mind. And my other favorite song here has gotta be Blood and Fire, which is, I first heard on the Mortal Kombat, the first movie, the soundtrack for that. Surprisingly when I look back, but yeah, that's where I first heard it. Next up, October Rust. This is my personal favorite Type O Negative album. Can't pick just a couple songs. I love them pretty much all. I could do without Haunted and The Glorious Liberation. Christmas Morning, Red Water. I like it, but I think it kind of sticks out. And then just a couple skits, just kind of showing their sense of humor. I appreciate that side of the band, but it definitely ruins the flow of this album. This will always be special to me because I got this my very first week of high school, way back in 1996. I Love You to Death, one of their most well-known songs and one of their best. My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, some people think it's corny, I love it. Burn Flowers Fallen, Die With Me, two of their best. Wolf Moon. I remember going to some kind of a Halloween, like, pumpkin display thing up in Northern Ontario, and my son and I went, and it was just like the coldest, clearest night, just the biggest full moon, and listening to this album and that song, Wolf Moon, and we got lost along the way. It was creepy, and it's just one of those things where I don't know, it's just a fun Halloween memory of getting lost and listening to Type O Negative in an unfamiliar area. Next up, World Coming Down. Everyone says this is their most depressing album and their darkest. 1999. This is actually when I began initially losing interest in Type O Negative, but I came around again years later. My favorite songs on here are definitely Creepy Green Light and Hallows Eve. Next up, Life Is Killing Me, 2003. Roadrunner once again. I agree with pretty much everyone that this could be their weakest album, but I still think it's pretty fun. Drunken Paris is a short but good tune. The best one overall is definitely the title track, Life Is Killing Me. Then you have the final album, Dead Again. This came out on SPV Steamhammer back in the day, but this is the 2022 re-release on Nuclear Blast that just came out last year. My two favorite songs on here are September Sun and She Burned Me Down. Comes with a bonus live disc. It's got a lot of the band's big songs. My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, I think 2 versions of Christian Woman, 2 versions of Black Number One, 2 versions of Love You to Death, and in particular the live versions of Love You to Death. I don't know what it is, but they changed the guitar or something in it. I just think it's awesome. And I don't play live albums often, but I really found myself really liking this one. I remember I was just cranking it the first time I put it on, and I was talking to my son, we were playing some Nintendo. What do you think about this? And he was just like, yeah, it's okay, Daddy. It's okay. Calm down. But definitely one of their best albums. But if I had to pick my top 3, might be kind of an obvious number 3, but World Coming Down. Number 2, Bloody Kisses. And number 1, October Rust. That's it for Type O Negative, one of my favorite bands to play at Halloween, and one of the best bands ever. Thanks for watching.